Welcome to Success Your Own Way, a podcast about how real people define and redefine success throughout their careers. Hosted by Tina Shurick and Ifat Rogers, this show features candid conversations with guests who've made intentional choices, navigated change, and built lives aligned to their values. Their guests share their stories as well as strategies and tactics that help them along the way. Tina's a certified coach and a former corporate leader who supports professionals in making confident, values-driven decisions. Ifat is a consultant with a background in food science and engineering, helping people solve complex problems with a practical, no-nonsense approach. Each episode offers inspiration and actionable insights for anyone rethinking what success looks like in their life and how to get there.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our episode of Success Your Own Way. Today, we are fortunate to have Maychee Mua join us. I will turn it over to Tina to introduce.
Yes, Maychee's identity is woven through multiple roles: daughter, granddaughter, sibling, wife, and mother to neurodivergent children. Being neurodivergent herself with autism and ADHD, these roles have shaped her life experience, worldview, and leadership style. A first-generation Hmong-Chinese American and the daughter of refugee parents, Maychee channels her ancestral legacy of resilience into systems change. As one of the first people who worked with a team to implement Minnesota's Medicaid autism program for children under 21 in 2015, she has built trust across diverse communities and dismantled systemic barriers with empathy, persistence, and cultural insight. She also helped the state of Minnesota create its first cultural competency training for autism providers, created multilingual educational materials, and elevated the voices of autistic individuals and families. As a 2025 Bush Fellowship Recipient, Maychee is deepening her leadership by reconnecting with her cultural roots, building a holistic healing framework, and designing culturally tailored resources that bridge Southeastern Asian traditions with Western systems of care. Welcome, Maychee. You're a busy woman.
I am. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thank you. Why don't you, in your own words, we just gave the audience a little bit of background on you, but in your own words, please share a little bit more about your story. How you got where you are today.
Yeah, for sure. So, as you mentioned, I am first-born generation to refugee parents who escaped a lot of genocide back in their home country in Laos. And so my identity is woven through their sacrifices. And I grew up here with, understanding our cultural pieces and intersectionalities of who I am. And I think one thing is that being very young and really leading for my parents and really being the main caregiver as the oldest child, navigating life between two different worlds has been very challenging. And I've had my own struggles. And so my family's culture is very different from our Western society's culture. And so when I was, introduced and surrounded through school systems, I realized that I was different. I was raised majority in white population suburban areas because my parents thought that moving out to the suburban would provide better education. So
Sure.
I went through a lot of struggles with internal identity, dealing with racism, and just overcoming a lot of things that were very new to me. And my parents didn't know how to support me. And all those things, along with just facing a lot of trauma and understanding myself, I was really isolated for a long period of time.
Mhm.
And throughout my identity, I found support through my partner, my siblings, my friends and families. And so I'm really grateful for that. And, discovering that I'm also neurodivergent now has been a true relief, revelation, because I knew I was always different.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to fit in. But finally having those answers brought a lot of happiness and another chapter to my journey of self-discovering and trying to advocate for people like me in our communities. And so these experiences continue to shape me for who I am and continuously learning. And I'm determined to advocate for those voices that don't have a support system. And, those that are facing oppression, racism, systemic barriers. And so hopefully sharing my story today with you guys and my journey will really empower people to embrace their true identities.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing more about your background. You definitely have gone through a lot of probably relatable experiences for some of our listeners, and hopefully we'll reach a whole new audience that we haven't been able to reach yet.
Yeah, and I can also relate to kind of like having both halves. Like I'm not from the US, so for me also kind of struggling a little bit between some of the culture, how I grew up, and then how it manifests in the US, kind of maintaining my identity while still being in a different place. So I can relate to that as well. Maychee, we make a lot of decisions every day, too many decisions. This is decision fatigue almost. But what's a decision you made throughout your life that really you feel like changed the course of your life?
I reflect a lot about that. I've been doing a lot of reflection lately about who I am today without these life decisions and experiences. And I think we can all relate to March 2025. March 2020, sorry, when we declared a public health emergency in the United States, right? And that was when COVID-19 was declared an emergency. And at that time, I just started my new career as a legislative staff for the state of Minnesota. Didn't think that I was going to sign up for that. And you read about this in your history books, right? Spanish flu, all these pandemics. And it happened so quick in the US, and that made me realize how privileged we were to dealing with viruses and dealing with a lot of health issues and disparities. But what really changed my perspective was that I saw a lot of marginalized communities hurting. I saw their death rates a lot quicker than the white population. And being at the front line, doing behind the scenes policy changes from a federal perspective to a state perspective, my heart was hurting. I was losing family members. I lost a great mentor in my life, my aunt, from the virus. And, I just had enough of that. And it made me think, I'm doing this work, trying to prevent things, trying to protect our communities, but what's going on? What is the root cause? And this gave me an epiphany to reflect about my life. What do I want to change in my life? And so that made me decide to go back to school, to go to grad school and finish up and really understand more about systemic barriers and really trying to figure out what can I do to change the system. And I'm already at the forefront of the work.
Sure.
But how can I also have a voice in that piece that's really affecting the communities I care about? And that really changed my life in 2020.
Wow. That's so big. I think we can all look back on 2020 and take a deep breath maybe while we think about it, because excuse me, it really did change the fabric of how society works. Right. And I think it caused a lot of people excuse me, to reflect on what's important to them. And it sounds like you got the chance to do the same thing. When you think about success, so we think about the podcast, and it's really about how people define success for themselves and redefine success for themselves over time. I'm curious how that has evolved for you, given your roots, the challenges that you faced as you went through the COVID period and the decisions that you made. How has your definition of success evolved over time?
Yeah, if I reflect back from being a child to now, it's constantly evolving and changing as we understand life. It's always fluid. And I think I go back to reflecting on my parents and my ancestors and thinking about what success meant for them. And that was surviving on a daily basis. And coming here to America as refugees, their success was to work hard to provide for us so that way we can live the American dream that they didn't get to do in their home countries. And that was always embedded in my mind. And so hence the cultural differences, the pressure to be perfect, to do things that my parents sacrificed a lot for escaping a war. And for me, defining success today, it's always dynamic and it's always a evolving process. And, it really ties back to what are my traditional beliefs and my cultural experiences, and how have I continued to pivot that from embracing changes from positive and negative impacts. And for me, it's about reaching milestones, right? And how do you make that tangible and having it clear. And for a long time, I also suffered from sexual abuse from a family member when I was really young. And it happens quite more often. And I thought I didn't have a voice. And through the mental health support and seeking that piece that was very truly a stigma to our communities, breaking those barriers and ceilings, it really helped shape my mental health to get better and to really understand what my impact of living is and having that meaningful life perspective. And so it has changed my way that I can be who I want to be. And that's my success, is having a voice at the table, being invited to the table, and continuously creating systemic changes and changes for the communities and being there for people that don't have that opportunity.
Amazing. Wow.
Thank you for sharing the story. It's inspiring and really getting me to think. I think this perspective on success is a little different than what we've heard so far. And I really appreciate it. Sometimes I get stuck a little bit in my head of what success looks like to me and not kind of broader. And just, I love the holistic aspect of it. Is kind of like the external and internal is part of the factors that how you look at success.
It's truly a healing journey.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
Tina introduces, then you shared your story. You have a lot of proud moments. Can you point out to one or two proud moments that really made you feel like you achieved or anything that made you really proud?
Yeah, and I think for me, my proudest moment is when I mentioned about finding my voice and discovering a path that is meant for my life journey's purpose and aligning that with my values. I always, want to be kind to humans, and I always want the same reciprocal relationship. And instead of being expected by society or expected by what your family perceives of you, I've had to overcome a lot of that and just say, accept me for who I am. Let me be authentic, because I think sharing my lived experience, sharing my stories, no one can ever take that away from me. And I think we learn more when we hear people's hardships and we hear them overcoming their trauma, their adversities. And, growing up in a very strict Asian American culture and being the oldest, being the family translator, because English wasn't my parents' first language, being the caretaker to 5 younger siblings, there was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And I had to grow up a lot quicker than most people my age, like in first or second grade. And, that really paused a barrier to my identity. And I think for me, what was pivotal was when I became a mom.
Yeah.
And I learned how to advocate for my children. It wasn't what society wanted me to do or what my parents thought I should do or how I should raise them. It was really, truly, how can I find tools and resources to help my children thrive in their lives? And that was the beginning of my proudest moment. And that has continued to evolve in my journey as I continue to build that foundation up.
That's amazing. And that is very consistent actually with a lot of our guests who are parents. The pride that we feel when we are able to nurture our children, and your situation is even more unique than many with the neurodivergence that you experience and also that your children have. Your ability to advocate for them is so, so important. And it's something that has been kind of theme on our podcast as well. So good for you. Good for you. That's awesome. I would imagine that throughout all of the life experience that you've gained, that there have been some individuals that have really helped shape and impact you through mentorship or coaching or just advocacy. Can you tell us a little bit about your mentorship journey and how mentors have played a role in your life?
Yeah. Oddly, I'm just actually discovering that now.
Yeah.
Being firstborn here, I'm like the test child in America. I didn't have the resources growing up. I didn't understand what it was to have allies, to network, to find people you can trust. And through my career at state government the last 10 years, I really found some of those leaders that really had saw potential in me.
Yeah.
They asked me to join them at the table. I've been through a lot of barriers where they dismiss me because I don't look like them or my name is different or I didn't have the educational credentials at the time. And I've been overlooked. But for those that believed in me, they continue to be a part of my life.
Yeah.
They are my not just professional colleagues, but my lifelong mentors that I truly respect. my kids are also my life mentors.
Yeah.
They help me realign my vision and priority and my life commitment and the impact of what my life's purpose is today in the journey. Being a parent, I believe it's just the most complex challenge in good and bad ways, because there is no book that will teach you how to do that, right?
Nope.
Everyone is different and no one can prepare us for that. And so being a parent, I believe, takes a lot of elasticity of the soul that I can never imagine. And I can continue to stretch in ways that I never thought I could before. And I continue to grow with them, shaped by their love and their continuously seasons of changes that they're going through with their life. And seeing a world through their life perspective right now, through what's happening around the world right now, they've also taught me how to adapt to different opportunities.
Yeah.
And they've stretched me beyond what I believed I can do and reshaped me, that made me realize that I was always meant to be someone different in this lifetime, to unleash my courage and be a resilient leader for them and for our communities.
Wow, so powerful.
So powerful. I love the just the point about the children. I have one, and I think when I sometimes reflect on my strength and I need to accomplish something, if it's just for me, I feel like my strength is so. But then if it comes anything with my son, it's just mama lion. I'm here. So it's so meaningful.
Yeah, the idea of reciprocal mentorship is something I'm writing about in a upcoming blog post as well. The idea that you can learn and you will learn even more from those who are less experienced or who have new, fresh ideas and ways of looking at things. So you're relatable. It's great.
Yeah, whenever I talk to especially industry leaders that have, at this point, quite a few steps removed from kind of the newer junior people that are coming in, I was like, you need to talk to them. You're so far removed that is a problem.
It's true. And even when I'm dealing with conversations in professional settings, I channel in my mom, like my mother image, and I say, how would I rephrase this to my children so they have a better understanding? And that really helps me with the communication process and working through with my peers so that way we can all come to an agreement.
Yeah, that's great.
We like to ask our guests what they're grateful for. So what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for so many things in life. And, I think the first thing I want to say I'm grateful for is for my ancestors who never gave up on me. They've gone through so much, and I'm going to get a little emotional.
Okay.
But I think about how they prayed for a moment like this, for me to be here to talk to you guys, to be really proud, to overcome a lot of things. And they've gone through so much suffering that I am their wildest dreams. And I'm grateful for that, for people not giving up in my lineage, in our historical lineage. And I'm grateful for the diverse experiences and our interactions that have shaped me today, meeting each person, regardless if it was a positive or a challenging experience, because that has contributed to my growth and understanding in life. The lessons learned, whether from uplifting friendships to difficult encounters, that's really offered me invaluable insights into life and human nature. And every interaction has provided a unique perspective, enriching my worldview, helping me to develop empathy and resilience, and the connections I've formed to remind me of the importance of community, human connection, and understanding and compassion. And each impact in my life, whether it's been, just a quick high or very profound, it's influenced my journey, reminding me that life is a tapestry and of shared experiences and lessons learned. And so I'm just grateful for the opportunity today with both of you as well to grow and evolve through these connections and encounters and shaping not only who I am, but also how I view the world and connect with everyone.
Yeah, we're so grateful to have you. You really bring a much different and deeper perspective on just life. I mean, we've talked to a lot of folks already who have come from a more privileged background. That tends to be who Yvette and I have in our network. And I think you really brought something a little bit deeper and a little bit more raw, frankly, and more vulnerable than what we've had on the podcast. So we're super grateful to have you here.
Very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Amazing. What, since you've been through so much and you've seen so much, what tips do you have for people who might be kind of in the same situation and kind of really trying to find their voice, trying to find, their place in the world, coming from a place where there wasn't much? Do you have advice or tips for those who are really trying to seek success in their own way?
Yeah.
To share.
I just want to encourage people that just getting up for the day is already successful, right? Because sometimes days are very hard to get through, especially what's going on in the world today.
Mm-hmm.
And just being mindful and reflecting your days of being grateful and just practicing those little things that you're thankful for. And, for those that are in their early stages of career, it's okay. You don't have to go through the traditional route of going to school, going to college right away, getting that career. Because sometimes a lot of us at 18 don't really know what we want to be when we are forced to go to college by our parents, or just it's a part of the norm, right?
Right.
And I will admit that I was also non-traditional, right? And figuring out my career and understanding where I am today. And I think for you to continuously learn, it's great to be open-minded, right? And to be curious about the world and be curious about things that you are afraid to learn about, because that's what's really going to open up your mind, and embracing those opportunities to seek out mentors and people that can support and guide you.
Mm.
And that even if you're in your early career, you're just still exploring your identity. You're exploring what makes you happy at that moment, and you're starting to build a foundation. But don't be afraid to take risks, because I've taken a lot of risks. I've gotten yelled at by highly high officials in my career, and I've gotten my hands slapped. But at the end of the day, they realized the impact I was doing in communities, and they allowed me to continue to embrace that. And those experiences really are essential for growth.
Yeah.
Doing things that challenge the typical norm and defining what success means to you personally, rather than comparing it to other people's experiences and perspectives. And I'm currently in my mid-career phase right now.
Okay.
So I think for me, it's always important to reassess your goals and ensure that they align with your values and beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very important time to expand your skill set, right? Because the world is changing with technology and advancement of how information is being processed so much quicker. And considering those moves and leadership roles, that can be an opportunity that can broaden your horizon and experience. And, networking is so important.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until I became a legislative staff. I learned how to work with a lot of people and making people come to the table from different life perspectives, even if sometimes we didn't agree to certain things. But it's really building those authentic relationships. Can they trust you?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to deliver what you're going to bring? And really evaluating your accomplishments so far that, so you can adjust where you need to adjust in your career. And then reflection as you continuously grow.
Yeah.
I think now I look back at my journey and I identify different types of chapters that I've succeeded in and continuously learned. Sharing my knowledge and experience to other folks has been really valuable, especially those that are still trying to understand and navigate the world. And I think it's at this stage is finding fulfillment for me in my mid phase and leaving a legacy. There is a saying in Native Americans that when you make changes for the world, or when you try to create sustainable policies, you want to think of 7 generations ahead on how you can impact society. And so never stop challenging yourself and embrace those changes. And when you are a part of that power, think about how you can create for future generations ahead of you and remain adaptable, because life is always changing with curveballs. And, with my autistic brain, rigidity is a huge thing for me with routine and process. But I've learned to try to be very adaptable, because that's how I'm going to be successful. And it's okay to fail, and it's okay to make mistakes and own up to it and say, okay, I did this wrong. Let me learn, teach me how to grow. That's really helped me continuously grow in my leadership skills and in the world that I'm living in right now, continuously trying to move and shape things. And just knowing that you tried your best. That's what really matters.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Those tips are awesome. It's about reflection. It's about growth. It's about relationships, you said it's about, building those connections and being flexible around all of it, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what you're going to face. You never know what's coming, and being prepared for that can help for sure. Gosh, awesome.
Such a powerful message. I think that's the best place to conclude our podcast. Thank you so much, Maychee, for joining us. Thank you, Tina. Again, thanks to our listeners. Please download the episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and join us next time, I believe.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Success Your Own Way. We hope you found this episode inspiring and took away actionable insights. Please tune in for our next episode, and if you know someone who is rethinking what success looks like in their life, please share this episode with them.